The roots of Russian air power. The story of the Russian Air Force begins not with the modern Federation, but deep within the brutal skies of World War II. Back then, it was the Soviet Air Force, formed under dire necessity and sharpened in the flames of the largest military conflict in human history. At the start of the war, the USSR's aerial capabilities were outmatched by Germany's Luftwaffe. But within a few years, the Soviets transformed their air force into a formidable war machine, producing aircraft like the Yakovlev Yak-3 and the Ilyushin Il-2, and training elite pilots such as Lydia Litviak, the White Rose of Stalingrad, and Ivan Kozhedub, the Allies' top ace. The Soviet doctrine valued numbers, resilience, and overwhelming force. Air power was seen not just as a tactical advantage, but a symbol of industrial might. The skies over Kursk, Stalingrad, and Berlin became defining arenas where Soviet aviation proved its grit. As the Cold War dawned, this legacy took on a new, chilling form. The Soviet Union no longer just needed fighters. It needed strategic bombers, nuclear deterrence, and surveillance aircraft. The Air Force evolved rapidly, giving rise to the long-range Tu-95 Bear, a turboprop bomber that still flies today. Dogfights were replaced by nuclear posturing. The airspace became a silent battleground, with radar systems, interceptor aircraft, and stealth threats looming constantly. This foundational chapter, built on sacrifice, industrial muscle, and raw determination, set the stage for a uniquely Russian approach to aerial warfare: pragmatic, relentless, and shaped by survival. It's not just a history of planes. It's a legacy of power forged in cold skies and hardened through geopolitical fire. Inside the Russian Aerospace Forces Russia's air power doesn't operate as a standalone entity. It functions under the umbrella of the Russian Aerospace Forces, known as the Vozdusno-Kosmicheskiye Sili, VKS. Created in 2015 by merging the Air Force, Air Defense Forces, and Space Forces, the VKS reflects Russia's modern vision of integrated warfare: air, space, and missile defense operating as one. The VKS is divided into several main branches: aviation, which includes strategic bombers, fighter jets, and transport aircraft; air and missile defense troops equipped with systems like the S-400 and S-500; space troops, managing satellites, early warning systems, and orbital operations. At the top of this structure sits the Commander-in-Chief of the Aerospace Forces, reporting directly to the Chief of the General Staff and the Ministry of Defense. Below him, air armies are deployed across military districts: Western, Southern, Central, and Eastern, each responsible for a vast region and capable of autonomous operations. Training is rigorous. Russia maintains major pilot schools, like the Krasnodar Higher Military Aviation School, which produces fighter and bomber pilots through years of intense simulation and real flight missions. Unlike NATO, Russian doctrine emphasizes centralized command, but allows for rapid decentralization in wartime. In combat zones like Syria, command structures have proven flexible, adapting quickly to on-the-ground realities. This structure gives the VKS strategic reach and tactical adaptability. It's not just built for show. It's designed to respond to threats across multiple domains, including air superiority, long-range strikes, and space-based intelligence. The VKS is more than an air force. It's Russia's vision of modern war: layered, integrated, and always watching. That's Russia's most powerful aircraft. The Russian Air Force boasts one of the most diverse and iconic lineups of military aircraft in the world. From Cold War giants to cutting-edge stealth fighters, its aerial arsenal reflects decades of evolving doctrine, engineering ambition, and strategic necessity. At the forefront is the Sukhoi Su-57, Russia's first fifth-generation stealth fighter. Designed for speed, agility, and radar evasion, the Su-57 combines supercruise capability with advanced avionics and weaponry. While it's still in limited service, it represents Russia's answer to the American F-22 and F-35. Then there's the Su-35, a fourth-generation plus fighter known for its raw power and extreme maneuverability. With thrust-vectoring engines and a combat radius of over 1,500 kilometers, it's a multi-role beast feared in dogfights and beyond. In Ukraine and Syria, it's proven both its air-to-air and air-to-ground effectiveness. The MiG-31 stands as a high-speed interceptor, capable of flying at Mach 2.8 and intercepting cruise missiles or low-flying aircraft. This Cold War relic has been modernized for 21st-century missions, including carrying hypersonic missiles like the Kinzhal. For strategic bombing, the legendary Tupolev Tu-160 White Swan dominates the skies. This supersonic nuclear-capable bomber is sleek, massive, and deadly, able to launch cruise missiles from thousands of kilometers away. Alongside it, the Tu-95 Bear remains a Cold War icon, famous for its noisy turboprops and endless endurance. On the battlefield, Su-25 Frogfoot ground attack aircraft provide close air support, while IL-76 and AN-124 cargo planes handle military logistics across vast Russian territory. Together, these aircraft form a strategic mix: stealth, speed, firepower, and range. Whether enforcing no-fly zones, launching long-range strikes, or projecting power abroad, the Russian Air Force's fleet is not just a museum of old Cold War tech. It's a living, evolving system built for modern warfare in all its forms. How Russian pilots prepare for war. Becoming a Russian military pilot is no easy feat. From early selection to live combat, the training pipeline is intense, selective, and shaped by both tradition and modern innovation. It all begins at military aviation schools like the prestigious Krasnodar Higher Military Aviation School, where cadets undergo years of physical conditioning, simulator work, flight theory, and progressively complex aircraft missions. Russian pilot training emphasizes discipline and adaptability. Cadets learn to fly older aircraft like the L-39 Albatros before graduating to modern combat jets like the Su-30 or MiG-29. Unlike some Western systems, Russian programs are known for throwing pilots into challenging conditions early, flying in sub-zero temperatures, operating from rough airfields, and simulating wartime scenarios from day one. In combat units, doctrine kicks in. Russian air tactics are built on layered defense, overwhelming offense, and centralized coordination. Fighter jets operate in tight formations, supported by airborne early warning systems like the A-50 mainstay, while ground-based air defense systems extend a protective net. Pilots are trained for combined arms operations, often working alongside ground troops, artillery, and electronic warfare units. One key difference with NATO: Russia prioritizes rapid response from dispersed bases. Pilots must be ready to operate from forward airfields with minimal infrastructure, practicing takeoffs on snow-covered runways and rough terrain. It's a doctrine shaped by geography, vast distances, extreme weather, and the need for decentralized survivability. In Syria, Russian pilots tested this training in real combat. Su-24s and Su-34s flew daily bombing sorties, often under heavy threat, guided by real-time intel and precision targeting pods. These missions served as both validation and live rehearsal for broader strategic conflicts. Russian air doctrine is a product of experience: wars won, wars lost, and lessons learned in some of the harshest theaters on Earth. It's not about perfection, it's about resilience, speed, and cold-blooded execution. Russian Air Force operations abroad. While the Russian Air Force has long focused on defending its vast homeland, the 21st century marked a strategic shift: projection of power beyond Russia's borders. Nowhere was this more evident than in Syria, where Russia launched its most significant overseas air campaign since the Soviet-Afghan War. In 2015, the VKS deployed a full combat wing to Khmeimim Air Base, including Su-24s, Su-25s, Su-30SMs, and later Su-34s and Su-35s. These aircraft flew thousands of sorties against ISIS, rebel factions, and later, Turkish-backed forces. The campaign tested Russia's logistics, precision strike capabilities, and operational sustainability far from home. More importantly, it signaled Moscow's return as a global military actor. The Syrian experience also served as a live-fire laboratory, Russia tested new weapon systems, including the Caliber cruise missile and various precision-guided bombs. Drones played a key reconnaissance role, and electronic warfare systems were deployed to counter Western surveillance. But Syria wasn't the only theater. Russian bombers have conducted patrol missions near NATO airspace, often triggering intercepts by European and American jets. Tu-95s and Tu-160s have flown across the Arctic, the Pacific, and even toward the U.S. West Coast, demonstrating Russia's long-range strike capability. In Africa, Russian aircraft have appeared in support of private military operations, such as those in Libya and the Central African Republic. These deployments, though limited, reveal a pattern: flexible power projection through a mix of state and semi-state actors. Even in the Arctic, a region increasingly contested, Russia maintains forward operating bases and regularly conducts bomber patrols and fighter scrambles to secure its airspace. What's clear is that the Russian Air Force is no longer just a regional player. It's a global tool, used to protect interests, challenge adversaries, and signal strength in distant theaters. Wherever geopolitics flare up, Russian jets are never too far behind. Today, aerial power under pressure. The full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 marked the largest European conflict since World War II, and a brutal test for the Russian Air Force. What was expected to be a swift campaign instead became a protracted, high-intensity war where air superiority was anything but guaranteed. At the outset, Russia launched mass cruise missile strikes targeting Ukrainian air bases, radar stations, and command centers. Tu-95s and Tu-160s unleashed long-range missiles, while tactical aircraft like the Su-34 and Su-35 conducted bombing raids and air-to-air patrols. But Ukraine's air defense, bolstered by Soviet-era systems and later by Western-supplied platforms like NASAMS and Iris-T, proved far more resilient than anticipated. Russian aircraft suddenly found themselves operating under extreme threat. Low-level flight became a necessity to avoid radar detection, increasing vulnerability to shoulder-fired missiles like the U.S.-supplied Stinger. The Su-25, Frogfoot, built for ground attack, suffered significant losses. Even advanced jets like the Su-34 were shot down, exposing vulnerabilities in Russia's electronic warfare and coordination. Despite this, the VKS adapted. Long-range bombers shifted to standoff attacks from Russian airspace. Glide bombs and decoy drones were deployed to overwhelm defenses. Fighters patrolled the front lines, hunting for Ukrainian aircraft and drones. The MiG-31 even made headlines by carrying the Kinzhal hypersonic missile in live combat. Still, challenges remained. Coordination with ground forces was inconsistent. Pilots lacked real-time targeting intelligence, and losses mounted, both in men and machines. For the Russian Air Force, the war in Ukraine has been a sobering reality check, a confrontation not just with NATO-grade technology, but with the limits of its own doctrine. Yet it's also been a crucible of adaptation. Tactics have evolved, new weapons have emerged, and Russia's ability to sustain a long air campaign, despite global sanctions, has surprised many observers. Ukraine became a proving ground, and in war, adaptation often matters more than perfection. Adaptation or attrition? As the world watches the skies over Ukraine, a bigger question looms. What comes next for the Russian Air Force? Is it evolving into a next-generation threat, or struggling under the weight of attrition, sanctions, and outdated doctrine? Russia is actively pursuing technological renewal. The Su-57 Felon, its fifth-generation stealth fighter, is being integrated slowly, with more airframes entering serial production. Though far from the scale of American or Chinese stealth fleets, it signals Moscow's intent to stay relevant in the air dominance race. Beyond manned fighters, Russia is investing in unmanned aerial systems. The S-70 Okhotnik B, a heavy stealth combat drone, is in advanced testing stages. If deployed effectively, it could act as a loyal wingman to Su-57s or operate autonomously in contested airspace. Meanwhile, lighter UAVs like the Orion and Forepost are already in use for reconnaissance and strike missions, especially in Ukraine. Russia is also expanding its hypersonic arsenal. The MiG-31K platform has already delivered Kinzhal strikes in combat. Further down the line, air-launched versions of weapons like the Zircon missile could shift the strategic balance, making traditional air defense systems obsolete. But modernization comes with serious hurdles. Western sanctions have crippled access to microchips, avionics, and precision manufacturing tools. The loss of aircraft and pilots in Ukraine has strained operational readiness, and budget pressures, exacerbated by war, limit the speed of procurement and innovation. Still, Russia has a long history of turning constraints into creative solutions. From cold airfields in Siberia to stealth drone prototypes, the country's aerospace sector is nothing if not resourceful. The future of the Russian Air Force remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. Whether through drones, missiles, or manned fighters, the battle for the skies is far from over. In the cold shadows of geopolitical rivalry, Russia continues to fly, quietly preparing for the wars of tomorrow. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Russia's aerial power, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There's more where that came from. Check out our full playlist, Air Forces Uncovered, to explore the most powerful and secretive air fleets on the planet, from stealth fighters to long-range bombers and everything in between. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you in the skies.